Hello, Five Star Network fans. So, do we have fans? I'm just gonna pretend we do. Welcome to the second installment in our five-star interview series here on YouTube. I'm Kay Quinn, and today I will be joined by none other than the Hong Kong cool star, the godfather of Southeast Asian pro wrestling, Ho Ho Lun. How are you doing?
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me here today.
I'm doing well, thank you. You may know Ho as the founder of Hong Kong's very first wrestling promotion, his time in the WWE, or as in my case, as a wrestler and an important part of the English commentary team in DRAGONGATE. But not this winter, because Ho Lun will be coming to England for pretty much all of December and January. So that's a pretty good amount of time to go see him if you can. So yeah, try that if you're in the area. Ho Lun, the UK is a place that's played a major part in your history as a wrestler. What does this return mean to you?
Yeah, coming back to England, this is actually the place where I decided to turn myself a full-time wrestler back in 2011 while I was doing some extra training with 4FW in Swindon, England. So before that, I have been wrestling in Hong Kong for about 2 years, 3 years. Most of the stuff that I've done very basically self-taught, and also got training a little bit with this guy called The Slam. So his ring name, The Slam, like body slam. So he is the first ever wrestler in China. Back in 2004, he is an exchange student in Korea, and then he returned to China in 2007, and then set up a wrestling ring and called himself CWE China Wrestling Entertainment. So back and forth, I trained there almost every weekend, few hours. And then I decided to set up my own ring in Hong Kong because the Slam can do it with CWE. I believe I can do it with HKW as well. So most likely a lot of stuff that self-taught. That's why I come to England 2011 to try to verify if the stuff that I train myself are correct. And luckily, 80%, 90% of the stuff that I can keep up with, the 4FW trainees. And after maybe like 3 months of the training in Sweden, I get approached by the other promoter in the UK and try to offer me matches. And that's how I started and start thinking, having this idea in my mind that maybe I can be a professional wrestler full-time as a career in one day.
Mm-hmm. So how do you feel returning to England after all of that?
I actually been back in England 2013. I did 6 months there, wrestle almost every week, and then I get back there 2019 just for a really short trip for maybe 3 weeks. But this time, I'm actually coming back mainly for the reason because 4FW now rebranded as British Kingdom Pro Wrestling. The promoter Dave Sharp, he always have the vision of bringing Japanese wrestling into the UK, and coincidentally, I am part of the DRAGONGATE right now. I handle some of the talent relation stuff. In the past, when you see a wrestler like Yamato, KC, Big Boss Shimizu, Shun Skywalker, when they are in the US, I was involved in some of the coordination work. So Dave knew about this, and then we've been talking for a while. Then why don't we bring DRAGONGATE back in the UK? As you can remember, DRAGONGATE UK haven't existed since 2013, almost 10 years ago, when we've got our previous DRAGONGATE UK event. So yeah, this is a good opportunity for DRAGONGATE, as well as some other local UK talents, to work together and put on some magic for the wrestling fans in Britain.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that because I will also be attending that.
Wow. Which one are you going to?
The first one.
The first one, the January 13th, that one, yeah?
13th and the 14th one as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's gonna have Sean Skywalker versus Dragon Kid as the main event, the one on the 13th, which was an excellent match. So I definitely recommend going, and you will probably also be able to see Ho Ho Lun there as well.
Yeah, I will, definitely.
So, you know, that's a great opportunity if you're in the area. In your opinion, what sets the British wrestling scene apart from all the other places you've been to?
When I first started there, I remember that was before NXT UK exists. So that was 2011, 2013. And a lot of people that I worked with, like Pete Dunne, who else? Sam Gradwell, Zach Gibson. These are the people that I used to work a lot together. Taylor Bate, Trent Seven. And now they are, you know, here and there. Chris Brook as well. He's here in Japan, right next to us at DDT in Tokyo. So we basically started around the same point, and then you know, all of us keep doing what we do. You know, it's always happy to see people who worked hard together 10 years ago and still doing great things everywhere in the world. And things have been changed now. I mean, since NXT UK come to life, although it's shut now, but then we've got like Rev Pro, we've got Progress, we've got all other, you know, this company in the UK, and wrestling fans have more opportunity to see different things, local talents doing great, and a lot of overseas talents coming down to the UK. So I think it's only do good for the wrestling business. I mean, the fans are going to watch great matches, and, you know, companies doing great and get in more exciting matches. So I think it's a good thing.
And that sounds very nice. Are there any specific wrestlers you're hoping to face in the UK, or any specific promotions you'd especially like to wrestle in?
4 years ago, I've been wrestling Robbie X for a couple of times, and all these 4 years he's been doing great things, and I can't wait to wrestle him one more time if there's an opportunity. I've been looking at a lot of video from Rev Pro. Still didn't confirm anything yet, but hopefully can start approach them and, you know, work something out together. Progress as well. Been talking for a little bit with Progress, but then still haven't confirmed anything yet. But then the main thing this time is with British Kingdom Pro Wrestling. Of course, the 4 shows in January. I mean, without 4FW, without British Kingdom Pro Wrestling, I won't have this career in wrestling business. So these 4 events, Swindon, Bristol, Oxford, these are my main events.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. I definitely I'm really looking forward to seeing your match at those shows. Now, for the British fans who may not know that much about you yet, I want to go a little bit deeper into your history and your wrestling philosophy, so to speak, starting with, what was it about wrestling that really caught your interest, that first made you think, like, I want to do this for a living, even if I have to start my own wrestling promotion to do it?
I actually first watched professional wrestling when I was 8 years old. I grew up in Hong Kong, so there's a cable TV channel that air Japanese TV program that they've got New Japan Pro Wrestling, you know, weekly as their program. And then at the same time, there's another channel that's air WCW. So if you remember at that time, 1996, 1998, that period, WCW and New Japan Pro Wrestling, they worked a lot together. So it's almost every day. So this channel, I watch WCW, and the other Japanese channel, I watch New Japan Pro Wrestling, and basically they are the same wrestler. So I started to get interested, you know, to watch here and there and watch the same thing. And you know, that period, a lot of people fall in love with wrestling because they've watched Jushin Thunder Liger, they've watched Great Muta. We've got Sting there, Scott Norton, Bam Bam Bigelow, Vader, all this, you know, from the 90s. That's how I fall in love with pro wrestling. And then after that, in about 2000, 2005, during that period, there's nothing like wrestling on the TV channel. Internet was just started, so I got to order VHS. That time we've got no DVD, so I ordered VHS from an American source to watch Japanese wrestling, because at that point I don't speak any Japanese at all, not at all. So English is the language that I speak. And you know, if you can remember that period, it's really hard to get Japanese TV program in a VHS to ship anywhere in the world, except you're in Japan. So this is how I order my VHS tape from America, then from Japan, and mail to my home in Hong Kong to watch that. So it basically travel around the world before I can watch it.
That sounds kind of like how I watched some of my old Toryumon stuff. Even down to even the VHS tapes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely like a lot of effort.
Yeah, it's a
I
lot
don't think
easier
you-
nowadays. You can just sign up for a streaming platform and you watch it live stream at some time, you know, and it's there for the next 6 months, 1 year, and you can watch it anytime you want. But back in the days, it's only, we're talking about 20 years ago, and it's really painful if you try to watch something that's not on your TV and you gotta spend a lot of effort finding where it is.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of effort to have to put into that. But I also I asked how you got started, but of course becoming a wrestler and staying a wrestler for over a decade are very different matters. What motivates you to keep working as a wrestler?
Before 2019, I was also a promoter for Hong Kong Pro Wrestling. Hong Kong is a place where wrestling is, you know, doesn't exist, and we were the only wrestling promotion there. And this is in my mind for a long time, and I feel like wrestling is the best kind of thing in the world that people should enjoy. And you know, as a promoter, I feel like I have the responsibility to share how good professional wrestling is, you know, to the Hong Kong, to the China audience. And also Hong Kong HKWF, we were the first wrestling promotion that exists in Southeast Asia. You know, we've got promotion in Singapore, we've got promotion in Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, and they all started around 2015, you know, after 2015. So we, you know, we started, you know, it sounds not a lot, only like maybe 6 years earlier than all of them. But our wrestler has been wrestling in a lot of places, you know, America, Japan, and we feel like we need to position Hong Kong as a hub, as a, you know, not hub, how do you call that? A hub of Southeast Asian pro wrestling, and that was always my goal. And these two things are the thing that, you know, keep me going.
That's a very interesting goal. I definitely hope that, you know, comes true at some point. What would you say have been the highlights of your career so far, both as a wrestler and as a promoter?
As a wrestler myself, I feel like my highlight was, you know, between 2016 and 2017, I was there in NXT, staying in Florida for about 1.5 years. You know, that was, you know, being in NXT is always the ultimate goal of any professional performers, you know, in wrestling. So I was lucky enough to be there for about 1.5 years, training with the best in the world. You know, the coaches are awesome. Ruby Brookside, Norman Smiley, Matt Bloom, they are all top of the business. And, you know, they've got a tremendous facility there in Florida as well. So I was lucky enough to be there, not only be able to train with them, and, you know, I'm a promoter myself. So I loved to see, you know, what equipment, what facility they've got and how things is done. And then I think these makes me, you know, a better wrestler, of course, and it also makes me a better promoter because I've seen how things is done in the most top class professional wrestling company in the world. That was my highlight as a wrestler. So highlight as a promoter. After coming back from America, I was appointed as the main producer for a wrestling show there in Macau inside Casino Complex. So spent about another 1.5 years in Macau, and that's made me a better promoter.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. That's pretty impressive. Is there something in particular you'd like the audience to take away from your matches or from the events that you produce, like a certain kind of emotion, a certain kind of lesson, basically?
For example, the show that I produced, not only in Hong Kong, I also produce show in, you know, a lot of places in China. I've done one in Malaysia as well. So I always wanted to, other than, you know, giving them exciting, you know, movement of the wrestling, you know, give them good move. I also want them to bring home something to think. You know, it depends. It depends where the show is and when the show is. But I always think beyond. It's not just giving them wrestling matches, because wrestling matches is the thing that you can watch all the time. But giving them a question to think after they're watching the whole show, give them meaning to their life. You know, a lot of people come and watch a wrestling show because they have a lot of stress. They have something that's unhappy with in their life, so they want to come to a wrestling show and, you know, entertain themselves. At the same time, letting them entertained, let them think about what life actually means. This is, you know, my philosophy of producing shows.
I think that's very valuable. I do think wrestling as an art form has a lot to teach. I certainly learned a lot from it. In addition to working as a wrestler, of course, as you've mentioned, you've been involved in the production and talent coordination side of things for a while now. And what got you interested in doing that kind of work, not just, you know, for your own promotion, but for others as well?
You repeat your question one more
I'm
time?
sorry. You've mentioned, in addition to working as a wrestler, you've also been involved in the production and talent coordination side of things for a while now with different promotions. What got you interested in doing that kind of work, not just for the Hong Kong Wrestling Federation, but also for other promotions like
So
Dreamgate?
after 2020, I have given up my promoter responsibility to, you know, another fella in Hong Kong. And I got to focus more in my career in Japan in DRAGONGATE. So maybe you don't know it, but when I ordered my VHS back in 2003, I ordered a lot of DRAGONGATE. At that time, they called Toraemon, T2P. I watched that a lot. So I basically I actually grew up watching them, you know, from they started like 23 years ago. And I always feel like Dreamgate got the best wrestling in the world, and there's no limitation. And when you watch American wrestling, that's always big dude. When you watch WWE, there's always people over 6 foot. But here in Dreamgate, you can see people at different sizes, and they were able to do great thing. So since I'm here now, and I am lucky enough to be able to involve in this kind of, talent coordination work. I wanted, wrestling fans around the world, America, UK, Southeast Asia, they can enjoy the same thing that I've enjoyed 20 years ago. And this is why this is the thing that this is my purpose, to bring Dreamgate guys, to the outside. Other than this, just my job, but then I have my purpose to let people have the same enjoyment that I have 25 years ago.
I really hope that the England shows will be able to help with that. And, connected to that, if you could produce a Dreamgate show in England or America, what wrestlers would you say would have to be on that card? Who do you think would really resonate with the international audiences?
I don't know, man. I really don't know. Back in 10 years ago, when we did Dreamgate USA, there's a bunch of wrestlers at that time, and they were still really active right now at this point here in Japan. So it's a mix, I think. It's a mix of the old and young, just like what we do here in Japan. Have you been to the Dreamgate UK show like 10 years ago? Have you?
10 years ago, I don't think I was an adult yet.
So yeah, at that point, we've got Dragongate, Yamato, who else was still here? Susumu, maybe Mochizuki. But then and at this point, they're still really active, and they're still doing great things, put on great matches. But then there's a lot of young guys like Shun Skywalker, Kikuta, who else? Yoshioka. They've only been wrestling for 4 or 5 years. In Japan, they've done a lot of great matches, but maybe they're quite not that well known among the UK or the US fans. So, if there's a chance in the future to put on a Dreamgate UK or Dreamgate USA show, I hope the fans will put their eye on this, younger talent, just like what they did 25 years ago when they have no idea who Dreamgate is, and they have no idea who Mochizuki is, and then after only a few matches, and this just stick to their mind.
Yeah, those matches were quite something. And yeah, I also think that the young talent of Dreamgate is very much one of its biggest strengths. So I definitely hope that people will become fans of them after seeing them. Is there, outside of Dreamgate, is there anything particular you're working towards, like in terms of producing wrestling shows, and maybe in the Southeast Asian realm?
We did a Dreamgate Singapore show early this year in March. The fans loved it. But Dreamgate, I think the Singapore fans, they are more familiar with the American wrestling, the AEW, the WWE. So Dreamgate, I think for them, is kind of a stranger. They haven't heard much about this brand, but then during that tour, we bring in Yamato and Dreamgate and Kikuta and Yoshioka, and who else? GM actually came, but he didn't wrestle. We were able to meet a lot of fans during the 2 days of the events, and we are actually planning to do another one next year, probably around March, April time. Haven't fixed anything yet, but we are working on it. And also we have done Dreamgate Hong Kong. We've done a few times already, 2017, 2018, but then it stopped because of all this restriction, right? And I was actually just came back from Hong Kong 2 days ago, and I met one of the promoter, the Dreamgate promoter, the Japanese dude who live in Hong Kong, and we are trying to work out a plan also for next year to do this Hong Kong show. So next year is going to be fun. At least we have Singapore and Hong Kong, and January we have UK, and we don't know what comes out from there yet. But if things are right, maybe we can propose a Dreamgate UK show for the future too.
Hopefully. I'll definitely be there if that happens.
Yeah.
You've also, of course, helped a lot of different promotions get started. Basically, you talked about, helping them not make the same mistakes you made starting out. What would you say is the most important piece of advice for someone looking to start their own promotion the same way you once did?
I think promoting in Hong Kong is gonna be the most difficult challenge because wrestling doesn't exist at all. And I remember when I started promoting it, 2007, there's no wrestling in TV as well. We've got WWE SmackDown in Hong Kong for maybe a few months. And then and then it got complained about the violence of they doing all these chair shots and things like that, and it got shut within 6 months, I think. So if I can do it, if a kid grow up in Hong Kong with the Chinese parents can do it, I think you have to just keep going and try. If someone in Europe, in someone in the UK, if someone in the US, wrestling already exists there. So if you want to start a promotion, there are people who you can look up to and ask for advice. But then one thing that's most important is safety. You got to keep your wrestlers safe. That's number one important, safety.
That's definitely something I hope that people heed well. Now, another backstage role you've taken for Dreamgate is, of course, that of an English language commentator. And what do you think good wrestling commentary should be? So what are you striving to be as a commentator?
Well, I am definitely not the best wrestling commentator you can find. I'm not good at it at all. I'm not good at it at all. First of all, because English is not my first language. So sometimes when things happen, it gotta go through my mind and translate it one time and then come up from my mouth. But then Dreamgate, it's so fast. The pacing is so fast. So you want to say one thing, next minute it already become another thing, and then you still have that word inside your mouth and haven't said it out yet. Yeah, this is very difficult to me. So I've leave a lot of stuff to Jay. He actually did more stuff than I do, but I'm also a wrestler myself, so sometimes I am able to put in some wrestler perspective, some of the move, some of the damage that I've done to the body, and if Jay cannot explain it, I'll try to explain it on my side. But I mean, if there's a Chinese channel that want to find a commentator, I want to challenge myself, as a Chinese one, because the Chinese is my first language and I would be more quickly to adopt it. But then after 3 years in Dreamgate, in the English commentary team, I mean, Jay helps me a lot. Sometimes if there's things that I can't explain, and he's there for me. And Dreamgate is also, you know, doing quite well, giving me this opportunity. I remember when we first started, I feel a lot of pressure. Do I really still, you know, do I have to do it? And then I did it. Now it's already the third year being on commentary in Dragon Gate. So I hope you like it and the fans like it.
Yeah, I think you and Jay especially make a very good combination. I feel like you have this sort of everyman kind of role where you ask a lot of the questions that the audience is also asking, and then Jay can sort of answer those questions. I think that works really well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you know, some of the rules, the wrestling, the match rule here is so complicated. Even myself as a wrestler, I'm confused. But Jay is the only one who have his mind clear to do all this. So yeah, I'm asking all this question on your behalf.
We're grateful for it. Last year, you also became a founding member of Kung Fu Masters, of course, your first faction in Dragon Gate. How has joining a faction influenced your experience in the promotion? Like, how is it different from going at it by yourself, basically?
Yeah, but basically this Kung Fu Master faction is only here in Kobe once a month. But then, if you can remember, when I first started wrestling with the Slam in CWE, his philosophy is always called Kung Fu wrestling, putting Kung Fu move into a wrestling match. And he influenced me this belief a lot. You know, we grow up in this prefecture in China called Guangdong, and Guangdong is where Chinese Kung Fu was initiated. That's why we wanted to put a lot of Kung Fu influence into our wrestling moveset. And having this unit as Kung Fu masters, it gives me actually more confidence to put in Kung Fu move into my moveset, and then where the fans will understand it. So yeah, this is good. You know, Japanese fans, they love Kung Fu a lot. When they think about Hong Kong movie, when they think about Chinese movie, Chinese culture, the first thing come to their mind is Kung Fu. I think for a lot of Europe fans or the fans from the West also think the same. When you think about, you know, Chinese culture, Kung Fu is, of course, the first thing that come to your mind. So I think this give me a more, how to say, a more clear, more obvious kind of image of what the fans, you know, perceive me as a performer.
Mm-hmm. Now, Kung Fu Masters is, of course, very different from your previous faction, which is Outer Space in the Hong Kong Wrestling Federation. And I was kind of wondering how, like, was it how are the relationships and how is interacting with your faction mates different between those two factions?
Yeah, Outer Space was a heel unit, and it just finished because we haven't done any events in Hong Kong for 3 years. It just ended by, you know, with no reason. But then coming this into Kung Fu Master, we, you know, although we only wrestle once a month in Kobe as Kung Fu Masters, but then Jackie and Jason Lee, we were there almost every matches, although they are with the dancing team, Natural Vibes. But then we see each other almost every day. Oh, not almost every day, like 10 times a month. So it's more communication between us. Whereas 4 years ago in Hong Kong, we only see each other maybe once every 3 months because there's not a lot of events going on in Hong Kong. And during that time, I was traveling a lot to Singapore, China, Thailand. I wrestle a lot, you know, in different places. So there's not a lot of teamwork going on back in Outer Space. But here, we see each other once every other day. So teamwork here, it's easier for us.
Yeah, you have a lot of great team attacks as well.
Mhm,
But speaking of few factions,
mhm.
in this year's Happygate roster Q&A, you said that if you could try being in any other faction for one day, you would choose Zebrats. What about
Yeah.
them interests you?
So outer space back in Hong Kong, we were a team of heel. So yeah, we used 30 tactics to win matches, which is exactly what Zebras is doing here in Dreamgate every day. And you see Zebras now is down to only how many member? 4 member? 3? 4?
I think
Yeah.
it's 4 members, but because Shun is overseas, it's basically just
Yeah.
3.
So if I can be there one day, why not?
That would certainly be fun. And because I've got to ask about at least one silly personal curiosity every interview, in that same Q&A, there was a question about what your ideal Dreamgate match would be. And you didn't name a match that you were into. You named that you would like to see Jason Lee versus Shun Skywalker. Why is that?
Well, I mean, during Shun Skywalker was a Dreamgate champion. I mean, he showed the world what a Dreamgate champion should be like. I mean, although he was a heel, but I mean, the confident level he have, I mean, it fits what Dreamgate champion is. And then on the other side, Jason Lee, I remember before we formed Kung Fu Master, Shun and Jason Lee, they fight with each other almost every day for a whole 3 months, if you can remember. And it ended by Jason Lee giving me a low blow in Korakuen Hall in a single match, if you can still remember that. So, I mean, if this can be a future Dreamgate match, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, that story was actually what originally got me into Dragongate.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I saw some pictures of that and I was like, what the world is going on here?
Yeah.
But is there a title that you would especially like to challenge for in England, in Japan, or elsewhere?
Yeah, in Dreamgate for sure. I mean, this is my 4th year here in Dreamgate. I only challenged once with the Triangle Gate Championship. I know it's not going to be easy because Jason Lee and Jackie, they have their own unit, and our unit only happens in Kobe once a while. But if there's an opportunity again, I would love to go for the Triangle Gate again. And there's no champion right now. Although there's a championship decision match, I think it's going to happen next week in Tokyo, right? So let's see who the new champion is, and then me and Jackie and Jason Lee gonna work towards it.
Yeah, I hope that this time you'll maybe win. And is there because we talked about feuds, is there a particular feud you've had with another wrestler, a particular match you had over the course of your career that you'd say, like, if there's a new fan looking to sort of learn what you're all about as a wrestler, watch that match or watch that feud?
I remember back in about 2013, me and the Slam had a single match in where was that? It probably happened in Hong Kong. So that's what Kung Fu wrestling was about. That match is a must-see if you want to get to know more what Kung Fu wrestling is. And also 2016, me and Jason Lee had a single match also happened in Hong Kong. I remember we actually fly in the day before. We just did Cruiserweight Classic in Florida. We flew back in to Hong Kong the day before this event, and then we did that single match with all the jet lag and all the things, all the waiting until the main event is almost like 10 p.m. Then Hong Kong, we wait for a long time. The jet lag get us so tired, and we still put on a match. So if you want to know about Hong Kong wrestling, the history, that was also the match that you might want to take. I think that's on YouTube. That was 2016 in the summer. Yeah, these are two matches that if you want to know me more, then you should take a look.
And we'll see if we can link that in the description, maybe.
Yeah, and also recently, last November, when I was in Singapore, I versus Chris Brook in a single match. And if you want to see me cut a promo in English, that's the match you want to take a look.
Wonderful. Then we'll try to see if we can find a link to that one as well, so that maybe the viewers can go and watch that right after this interview.
Yeah.
And last but not least, specific wrestlers or title matches aside, what are your goals for this trip to England?
You know, my main goal coming back to England this trip is to meet up with all the old friends. You know, there's people that I haven't seen for so many years. It's not about matches and championship. It's more about meeting all these people who gave me an opportunity before nobody knows me. Dave Sharp, of course. Although I came back in 2019, but I didn't have a chance to meet him. Yeah, a lot of people coming back to English, all about thankful of England, you know, British wrestling gave me the career that I have in wrestling. You know, it's all about thankful, coming back, meeting these old friends, you know, things like that. Wrestling, you know, I love it, but I actually don't know any of the match card, you know, the plan out yet. But yeah, it's more about, you know, say thank you to the fans, fans appreciation. That's the goal of this trip.
And that's a very sweet goal. Thank you very much for taking the time to answer our questions then, and putting up with me talking way too fast. Now, dear viewer, you can follow Ho Ho Lun on social media at Ho Ho Lun 719 if you want to keep up with his scheduled appearances. Links will be in the description. And what will also be in the description for people who maybe want to learn a little bit more is a link to his appearance on our very own Dramatic Dream Dragons podcast. So please check that out if you're interested. Do you have anything else you'd like to recommend people check out?
I think that a lot of wrestling fans in the Europe or the UK or the US, they might wanted to come to Japan and watch wrestling live. But you know, the ticketing system is really painful if you don't speak Japanese. So if you are coming down to watch Dreamgate, just drop me a DM and I'll figure it out for you. You know, the ticketing, the merch, the where to eat good Japanese food, things like that. Just drop me a DM and we'll figure it out for you.
I might actually do that sooner than expected.
Oh.
All right, thank you for joining me, and thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and visit our website at 5starnetwork.co to not miss any future content. Bye.
Bye-bye.